Hi everyone, how are you doing? I hope you're having a great time here. Let's continue with my talk, which will be about information design for communicating medical, research, and analytical information. My name is Maxim Gorbachevsky. I'm the founder and leader of Infographer, information design studio that is doing that kind of designs daily for the last 15 years. So today I will be sharing with you my experience and some of my recent findings on the subject. So to start, let's dig some history, because what we learned today is nothing new. It has been with us for centuries already. The researcher Michael Findlay highlighted that some first maps with information design are originating back centuries ago, and it all started with the maps of travelers, of explorers. For example, those maps of William Barnes, of Cortes Conquistadors. Those maps were beautiful and functional at the same time. They needed to show how to show the map, but they're also beautiful as well. Since then, they need to be more functional in images evolved, and one of the great examples of functional design in the history is, for some of you, a well-known picture. That's a picture of how the cholera pandemic in London was stopped. John Snow, the doctor, tried to plot all the cases of cholera on the map and realized that most of the cases are linked to one specific water pump. Since that, the pandemic was stopped. And this is a great example of how functional can be a picture. Then, what we use today, those line charts and bar charts, have been with us since 18th century. That's the first recorded line chart to date, which was done by William Playfair and shows the statistics of the trade. The transfer between the real and functional design can be easily understood by the design of the London Underground map. At first, at the beginning of the 20th century, the map was mainly bound to physical locations on the map. But since the great involvement over time and enrichment of the London Underground, it became what we know today, which is mainly focusing on how to navigate underground and not where the stations are actually located. And in the 1930s, the need for communicating a lot of statistical information to the general public rose. So we see the rise in isotype and isostat, the trends of illustrating the statistics and making it more accessible to general public. Since then, we use all these maps and pictures in the newspapers, and there are even competitions on the subject. But everything that we learn today has all the deep roots. So, and all the principles are very common. So let's start with why are we talking about this today? Because the role of visualizations in medical research and in the research is very high. Because when you demonstrate such a picture to your viewer, to your reader, well, the first feeling of some uneducated or unprepared reader would be like a huge confusion. I don't understand. And it is true, because generally you are the researcher, you are the analyst, and you crafted that analysis, you crafted those pictures, but you have to think how it will be consumed by the reader. So in medical, in healthcare industry, it is important to communicate the change in the behavior, to promote the change in the behavior. And one of the examples of that is the label, the nutrition label that we have on all the products. And it is evolving over time to be less confusing and more readable. But so, for example, on the left you see the old one, on the right you see the right, the new one. After some remakes, and it's being introduced more and more widely. But still, it is kind of complicated to read, because the information for a general reader, all the numbers, still are very, 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 very confusing. And most of us do feel like that feeling when we see it. And this is actually a problem. The problem because we do not communicate what we need to communicate, and we need to communicate how healthy the product is, how good, how much fat, sugars, and so on it is. And here are just three of the possible makeovers of this nutritional label, so that a person who reads this label can easily understand what the product is in front of him. So there are lots of possibilities to do something better with the medical information, and this creates a lot of potential for communicating some very important information, like for example this blood test, which can be visualized, and some important data can be visualized into the graphics, so that a patient can understand. Some may say that no, the patient don't need that because this information is intended mainly for the doctor, and the patient should not do the self-treatment. Yes, but no, still you have to raise awareness about health. So the visualization helps to make the healthcare industry more accessible to general public and explain what is behind the numbers. So is with the analysts and the companies. There are multiple reports, thousands of reports every day, every year, and we use reports and dashboards and all those kinds of visualizations every day. So basically the principles that we're discussing here are the same, depending no matter are we talking about medical or are we talking about business. It is about visualizing insights, about visualizing results of analytical work, what is hidden behind the numbers. But I do not invite you to draw everything, because sometimes when you draw a picture, it is just meaningless. For example, this is a blood drop with some numbers around it. Is it a good picture or not? Let's think about it. What you see here is a blood drop doesn't bring any extra value apart from the context that it is a blood. And if you want to see the numbers, then all you have to do is just to read the text. So if you remove the blood drop, then you will not lose any information. So this picture doesn't add up much to the design, so this is not a good example of visualization. So which types of visualizations are we actually talking about? In research and medical domains, the most applicable are data visualization, insight visualization using explainers, and infographic illustrations. These are the three types that are the most useful. The first one is used to visualize data. The second one is used to visualize some concepts or some logic. And the third one is mainly used for as a marketing material for general public. In my talk, we will be focusing mainly on data visualization as a very powerful tool that can be used for your graphics without any special extra tools applied. So how to do that? How to make your visualization better? And the basic to start with, let's see a good example. This is a good example of a chart which demonstrates some statistics with about COVID. And what is good here? It is nice to look at this picture. It is aesthetically pleasant to look at. There are labels. There are different colors. It is a story in itself. So how to achieve that? And to start with, the starting point is the chart type. It may seem strange that chart type is important, but yes, it is, because depending on what do you need to communicate, there are mainly 4 different answers. The data might be you want. Out of the data that you have in hands, you might be interested to communicate the contents of that, or relation between the data, or the comparison, or for example, the distribution. So, depending on the answer, you will have completely different charts, completely different options of the charts. This is a cheat sheet that allows you to select a specific chart based on the answer to the question, what do you want or what do you need to communicate? There are different cheat sheets available on the internet, and we have our own. If you want to have one, just drop me a line and I will share it with you. But the general point is there are different charts depending on what do you want to communicate. So with the same set of data, there are multiple ways to communicate it. And we will explore this a bit deeper in the following pages. There are mistakes, of course. Some are very simple but still exist. They do still exist. Like, for example, what you see now on the page, it is a visualization of some statistics which is not bound to any logic. So mainly it's just illustration without any real value in visualization. So better just forget about the picture and just read the numbers. And the problem follows with the pie charts, that pie charts are bad for comparisons, for example. If you check these 3 pie charts, then you will see that on all of them, the segments have different sizes. But is it easy to understand which of them is better and which of them is bigger and which of them is smaller. No, because they are very similar visually. So another type of chart is better here, the column chart, which demonstrates the differences between the sections. So even in simple, classic, basic charts, there are a lot of things to consider which make it better. And to start with, let's have some examples. It may seem simple to plot a chart which is a time series or some horizontal line chart or bar chart. Yes, something like this. But the problem here starts with at the point that you have to make your reader look at this like an owl, but tilting their head and trying to read those labels. It is bad for the reader, so it makes confusion at reading this chart, so it is inconvenient. So to make it more convenient and increase readability, all you have to do is just to tilt it sideways, so it is much easier to read and digest. This is a gratitude towards, this is some empathy towards your reader, which results in better understanding and better attention of the reader. So is with the more advanced charts. There are multiple choices available: waterfall chart, circus, Sankey chart, bullet, Marimekko, and so on. Dozens of them are available, and depending on the tools that you have in hands and the specific tasks that you are trying to accomplish, there will be different options available. I will give you some examples. This is a alluvial chart demonstrating the flows of the migrants in Europe, from which country they fled to which country, and where their applications accepted or not, and decision by origin. So you see what has been happening. So that's the whole story in the picture in itself. As for the healthcare industry, there's another nice example of using Sankey chart. This chart demonstrates the patient's flow between the departments of the healthcare institution. Some number of patients were admitted to acute care and some to critical care, and so we see how they were moving over time from department to department. Another example of the moves in the healthcare industry between the types of patients in their statuses. You see the mortality, the ICU, and so on. For more advanced visualizations, there are many, especially in biology. For example, genomic visualizations using the chart called Circus. This chart is freely available on the internet. And all you have to do is just to upload the data in your tables to the online visualizer, and you will get this chart like that. So, to make the visualization better, it is important to pay attention to every element, and designing of elements is crucial in making the overall design good, even a simple chart. Because the picture, the slide consists of multiple objects, so is the chart. The chart consists of multiple objects as well, and every of them needs some attention. And in the following pages, I will demonstrate you how to improve the chart and make it more readable and accessible. And to start with, my first idea is to devote some time to Axis, because Axis is a powerful tool of communication. Axis, proper use of Axis can be helpful to highlight the data, to manipulate the data, and sometimes it can skew the data, because if you skip some empty data points, then your reader may not understand the whole range of data. And sometimes you need to apply some effects like zoom effect to highlight some data which is differentiating greatly. For manipulating data, a great example is the elections in the Ecuador. Here you see the manipulation of the sizes of the column charts, that the winner, it looks like the winner has it all. Actually not, and if you read the numbers, then you understand that this visualization is completely skewed and manipulated. For zoom effects, this is one of the examples how to make the reading of the complicated chart look easier. And this is a bad example of using the axis, because here what you see on the chart is that the chart starts not from 0 but from a certain value, and you see, and For an unprepared reader, it may seem that the total KPI delivery efficiency varies almost 2 times between different dates, which is actually not, because the delivery varies only maybe by a couple of percent. So overall, proper usage of the axis is a powerful tool in communicating what is actually happening in your visualization. Next point, visual focus is a great thing, because when you focus on the attention of your reader on one specific part of the chart, then you get the most of his attention, and then you are able to communicate him what you want to communicate, instead of allowing him to make his own decisions. Here you see an example that one of the lines was highlighted, to the right, demonstrating the specific statistics that needs to be on top of the interest. So is in the reports. And here we come to the point of the data-ink ratio. Data-ink ratio is a principle of how much of ink of printer ink is applied when you need to print some chart on with some data. And here is an example that to print this data, well, you can skip most of the elements that you see on this page here. The background, the grid lines, a lot of things can be skipped, and the amount of ink that is used for printing can be reduced almost twofold. Another great example of bad data-ink ratio is this picture. Here you see 7 charts about 7 different religions. Yes, the 7th one is in the top right corner. But it is hard to read those numbers because they are hidden behind the actual photo, which looks nice and which adds some context. So it might be useful for magazine, but not very good for analytical report. But even in analytical reports, we tend to do the slides like this one, which is very bad and overcomplicated simply because of too much ink used on this slide. Remove some ink, make it easier to read, and then your reader will like it. Here you see several points, several problems at the same time. The data-ink ratio, the chart in the wrong is tilted, and so on. Coming further with labels. Labels are important to make the chart as readable as possible. For example, in the left chart, you see that all the lines are colored with the same color, but the names of these lines are put to the right of next to them instead of a separate legend box. It makes readability of this chart way easier. So is with the right chart. Although most of the time Excel gives us the visualizations like this. So we have to pay attention and devote some time in adjusting these visualizations, in making them more accessible, easier to understand. A good example of the remake of this chart is this one, for example, from Financial Times. Is it easier to read? Yes, of course. You have the colors directly bound to specific lines, and all the labels are in the sequence of how they are according to statistics, according to numbers. So you see that, and you don't have any confusion between France and Greece. France is higher than Greece, although it may seem different. So another picture from The Economist, a bit more cluttered, but still the principle works, and we can easily read this page. So now you understand a bit more why this chart and how this chart is better and working greatly. Because all the labels are in their places, all the important parts of the image are highlighted, and the color work is done properly. And to remind you about some of the fonts, there are options, of course. There are serif and sans serif fonts, and sometimes you have an option to choose between them. But on top of that, there are condensed fonts, which may be very convenient to use if you have some limited time for presenting your visualization. So just remember. Overall, your image should pass the screen test. The screen test is about what gets the most attention. Is everything readable without actual reading it? And let's have some example here. Here we have two circles of different color and of different shape. All the factors impact our understanding which of the objects is more important. And here we do not understand which one is more important, because one is bigger, but the other one has the color which attracts more attention. So actually here, intentionally, the picture is made in the way that it is impossible to understand and clearly define which of the circles is more important. So all the factors pay attention. And there are several principles based on the Gestalt principles, which allow to create the focus and structure of the picture, of the whole slide or the visualization. The closeliness, continuity, proximity, similarity, all these different principles should work together, and if they are properly applied, then your image is great. Then your image is focused in delivering what you want to deliver. A bad example of not applying this principle is this column chart. You see, bar chart, you see that to the right, that the numbers on the bars and the numbers of the years are located, aligned one by another, and it is impossible to understand to which of the bars does every of the years belong. So it is hard to read. A good example of the principle is here, with all the colors, with all the labels, and another good example will be a bit later. But now I want to talk to you about 3D charts. 3D is bad thing because it skews data. Here you see why. You may want to use 3D for some for demonstrating, for manipulating the data only, but not for demonstrating the real data. Because if you skew the data, then it will not be precisely correct. And of course, never use 3D charts for comparisons. Another principle, don't make the reader do the visual math himself. What I mean by this? Take a look at the upper left corner. This chart demonstrates an array chart of 4 series, and it is hard for a reader to compare them. So if you do one extra set of work and add one total line and compare the lines, all the separate lines together, as in the bottom left corner, then your image will be much better for understanding. Some good examples of that and some good examples of highlighting are here. Don't do the overcomplication. This is overcomplication. When there's too much series, there's too much happening on one slide. Some may say that, oh no, I never do it. But in fact, I still do see it almost every day in different reports, in different pictures, even public talks on different conferences. It is so. So try to avoid it. But if you can't, try to use the principles that we're discussing today to make it as clean as possible. It is possible because sometimes you have too much data and you need to present all this data. So using these principles allows you to create, for example, a very nice looking dashboard like about COVID, like this one, where you clearly and easily understand everything. And try to be consistent with colors. Color is a very powerful tool of communication, and when changing colors over time, you are making the reader confused. For example, here on these two charts, you see that the colors of the charts above and below are the same, but the series names are different. So there is a confusion when you read these two charts. So try to make them the same. Here, for example, one of the red one, the red segment is the same for all the charts, but it's not true for all the others. So you see that, for example, the green one belongs to a different company every time, and so on. So you are confusing the reader, so you are distracting the understanding. So overall, color can be a very powerful tool of communication by itself and serve multiple functions. This is one great example of using color, and some others. In the reports as well. And what to do with colors in general, my advice would be to start with gray color. Quite often you use, of course, in your research, the gray color as the only color available for you, because you have to submit your papers, for example, and you have to submit them in black and white, for example. But as you see now, gray color, first of all, can be accompanied with extra colors, with any extra color. So a combination of gray color with any color works great. And second, even when you have only gray color alone, you still have a lot of options to make the chart look nice and smooth. And for scientific research visualizations, I have a couple of extra suggestions. To try to devote extra time on captions, first of all, to have them matching the graphic, to be descriptive and self-sufficient, to be easy to read and understand, not too big, clear, clean and concise, and the whole chart should be very in good resolution, and not the colors that you add should enhance the graphic but not distract. So overall, a good graphic is the graphic that communicates with clarity, with precision and efficiency, which means that no confusion, very good, no distortion of data, and minimum child junk. In this case, your reader will most likely like what he is seeing and will get way more information from your chart, from your research than before. And he will spend less time on that, he will be more happy, he will understand more, and he will give you better scores. And one important subject to discuss are the ethical challenges in data visualization in healthcare, because medical data has a lot of challenges because of sensitive nature of health information and potential consequences of their misinterpretation. I will just briefly highlight them. What I mean is that if you have the data and you need to present it, then there might be the data bias. So fair representation is important because otherwise it may lead to misleading interpretations, which is bound to potentially risky situations, because medical information is also about potential risk that is connected to this or that medical decision. So communicating risk and uncertainty is also very important in medical visualizations. And of course, since medical data is very extensive and you are only presenting a small part of it to your reader, then the reader has limited data understanding. So try to provide as much context as possible and to make this visualization very consistent and describing your data in full. So the final result, what you would want to achieve, is the feeling of "I finally understand" from your reader, and his happiness, and the reader is happy, that you are happy because what you spent in time and you invested your time and effort in doing some research that was actually consumed in a way that it was intended to be consumed by you. My name is Maxim Gorbachevsky, and these are some of the designs that I did in the past 15 years. Today, I would like to share with you that I'm launching an online course on report design called Info Reports. I start by publishing a small book, How to Uncover Insights in Your Data. If you want to try one, download it for free using the link that you see on the screen. If you would like to sign up for the course, check the link as well. Maybe you will find it interesting for yourself. Hope to see you soon, and I hope you liked my talk. Goodbye.